the barriers, the taller I become. The further you take my rights away, the faster I will run. You can deny me, you can decide to turn your face away. No matter, 'cause there's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh no, something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. The more you refuse to hear my voice, the louder I will sing. You hide behind walls of Jericho. Your lies will come tumbling. Deny my place in time. You squander wealth that's mine. My light will shine so brightly, it will blind you. 'Cause there is something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh no.
All around the world. Sit back,
Something
relax.
inside so strong. Oh.
This is Star Radio. This is Star Radio UK.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Bebe Means Business Show. As always, I'm your host, Bebe Clement, and I'm here every Tuesday, 1:30 to 2:30, to give you all the tips, advice, knowledge, and everything else that we can in relation to business and entrepreneurship, and how you can build wealth and become financially free. Build generational wealth and become financially free. I want to thank everybody who tuned in last week. As you know, we're still celebrating International Women's Month. I know it's supposed to be a day, but we've stretched it. We've taken some liberty and we've stretched it. So we're still celebrating International Women's Month. And I want to thank my guests who came on last week. It was a really, really brilliant show. The feedback has been amazing. I want to thank Sandra Ramsey-Nicole, Bimbola Osage, and Lisa Newton. It was just a riveting show, such an insight into all those successful women and how they've built businesses from scratch. Lisa, for instance, had never had a job before. She's never had a 9-to-5. So hats off to her. But thank you to everyone who tuned in. The feedback has been wonderful. And as always, we are here to serve you with all the knowledge that we can about business. Okay, so for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, like I said, my name is Bebe Clement, and I am the author of 2 books, How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur, and this is my latest book, Wealth Creation God's Way. Also a shout out to everybody who's bought the book. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. And yes, if you do want to buy the book, you can buy it from my website, which is www.bbclement.com. That's www.bbclement.com. bbclement.com. And of course, you can buy it on Amazon as well. Now, on Saturday, we had the School of Money Summit. In London. And that went so well, very well attended, brilliant. Dr. Olumide Emmanuel was there speaking. I was speaking alongside him. We had a great time. I want to thank everybody that came along, everybody who signed up to the different programs that were available thereafter. It's been great. And we'll be having that again next year, but we're going to be having one in Manchester on Sunday, but I'll tell you a bit more about that later in the day. Okay, so today I also have two amazing women on the show who are going to tell their story about how they are kicking ass in the marketplace. They've built successful businesses, they're using their influence, they're making a difference, they are trailblazing for other women. Listen, it is going to be a great show. So, without much further ado, I'm going to introduce you to our guest today. Oh, good to see you. One of our guests was having some problems logging on, but good to see that she's here. So I want to introduce you to our guests today. In fact, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. But a great welcome and thank you for coming to Yemi Jackson and Debbie Akinkunle. Good afternoon, ladies.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Great to see you. Okay, so let's kick off. Right, let's start with introductions. Debbie, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Okay, hi everybody. It's great to be here. Thank you very much, Bebe, for having me on here today. My name is Debbie Akinkunle. I'm a senior commercial manager with one of the banks here in London, UK. And I'm also a Kingdom Life coach. I like to call myself a Kingdom Life coach. So I'm excited to be here with you today.
Ooh, thank you. We're going to hear a little bit more about a Kingdom Life coach later on, because I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what my viewers know what that is. So that sounds interesting. Yemi, hi, and welcome to the show. Can you unmute?
I'm on mute.
Okay, cool.
Oh, good. Thank you very much for inviting me. Really appreciate being invited to this show. So my name is Yemi Jackson, and I am the founder of a company called Engage Transform. And our focus is really to try and help organisations increase diversity in their leadership teams. So we're really passionate about getting more women, more people of colour into leadership teams. We think it's really important that we get people at the leadership level because that's when they can influence decisions. And that's what we're about. We really want to influence the workplaces and bring our talents to the table. So I look forward to it. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Okay. All right. So we're going to hear a bit more about that because that's quite a unique area. You don't often hear people being inside that kind of space. So it's good to see you and to hear what you do. Right. I'm going to start with this because this was quite an interesting story, interesting segment last week. I said that everybody has a money story. Some things that have happened, usually in our childhood, that have formed the way we relate with money, how we think about money, whether we actually have any money, what we do with it when we get it, that kind of thing. So I shared my story about how I had grown up in a comfortable middle-class family initially. My mother had been an entrepreneur. My father was an accountant, but he was helping her in the business. And then she died very suddenly, very unexpectedly, when I was very young. Because my father didn't have the same kind of entrepreneurial flair as she did, we went from a middle-class family to being very poor very quickly. And the effect that had on me was to always manage, because I was the eldest of 12 kids. Always manage, try and find, okay, how are we going to eat today? What are we going to wear tomorrow? How are we going to pay the rent this month? And all those kind of things. I was involved in every aspect of the money for the family. And so I grew up with the mentality that anything is better than nothing. And I didn't really understand at the time that what I was developing was actually a poverty mentality. I also shared that, up until a few years ago, I wouldn't even go near a shop that didn't have a massive sale sign on the front, because that was all part of my poverty mentality. Do you guys have a money story, and what is it? Yemi, you want to go first? Because you're an accountant, so you want to go first?
Oh, wow. Oh, you didn't prepare me for this. Okay, I'm getting a bit, thank you for sharing your story, actually, Bebe. It's the first time I've heard it. And no, it's interesting. When my mother had me very, very late, I was not planned. Which I don't know why Nigerian parents feel that they have to share that with you. They shouldn't really, because they didn't understand anything about emotional impact it had to do. It was very much, I wasn't planned on having me when she was 48. And unfortunately, she started off, her mum was very, very wealthy. And she also did really, really well. But by the time she had me, they had nothing. So actually, I always felt like when I came was when there was literally nothing. So that, I didn't realise how much that kind of impacted me, and how it really made me feel, yeah. So I never saw my mum, unfortunately, not at her glory days and stuff like that. And and actually, it was good and bad. Bad in the sense that sometimes I felt like I was the source of that. But in a way, one of the things she kept saying to us, please, don't be like me. I was very much a socialite, you know how Nigerian Yorubas particularly love to party, and she was just like, look, all this clothes and all this rubbish that I invested in, I wish I knew better. I wish so. From a young age, she's always said to us, please don't be one of those that just waste your money on looking, a certain way and just stay, and trying to keep up with the Joneses. And obviously she learned, maybe she felt a bit late, but I don't know how this woman did it. No formal education, and somehow she got all of us through almost private schools in Nigeria anyway. And she poured everything she had. She came out of that group that was all about show, and every penny she had, if it meant, and sometimes I realised that sometimes she wanted that food, and it was just given to eat. But even so, the weirdest part of it is, even though I won't say we were ever poor, but I think there was a lot of sacrifices that she hid from us and stuff like that. So my relationship with money is a bit weird, because obviously, as she said, I'm a finance director, right? So most people expect you as a finance director to be to know your stuff. But because I've been working, am I frozen? You can see me, yeah? Yeah.
We can see you.
Yeah. I started working very, very early. So I've always had money, but it also meant that I then didn't put any boundaries in place, because the money was always coming in. From a very young age, I had to be earning for myself. And so therefore, I was never too overly worried about money, but actually built a really bad habit, because then there's always something coming at the end of the week or something at the end of the month. I never planned ahead, because I always earned. I always earned. So it wasn't until I lost my job in 2017, which is what prompted me to start my own business. But I thank God, in reflection, that had that not happened, I think I would have just continued that sort of same mentality of always a high earner, always never had to want for money, but it also meant being billed, the 30, the 10, obviously I always paid my price, but the other was just like, something was always going to be coming in, never had to worry. And it's the first time it's just like, actually, there's not necessarily going to be something coming every month. You're going to have to really start to think about everything that does come in, really well. So that's where I am with money. I'm getting better, but so I think sometimes when you come from I did come from a middle class background, and then we weren't very poor either. Having heard my mum's story, but having always earned, having always worked hard, it also meant I didn't have the best relationship with money. And I'm just, all the stuff I'm learning now, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish, when I hear you talk, and I'm trying to instill it to my children now, all the stuff I wish I knew. And I keep saying to them, it's not how much you earn, it's what you do with it. It's not how much you earn, it's what you do with it. So yeah, mum's never, apart from the fact that, look, don't waste your money on, which I'm still quite conscious, don't waste your money on imagery. I've never been one for, look, in terms of spending money to, all this designer stuff. But at the same time, she never really taught us beyond that. So it was very much what she taught us was the survival kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, she never got into the stage of investment, which is I'm trying to start earning for my children. So yeah, a journey, and that's the thing. People say, "Oh, you're a finance director." She's like, sometimes they're very good at managing other people's money. Yeah. I remember I used to walk into an organisation to be an FD, and if they ever told me they didn't have a budget, I'd either walk out or just, I'd be like, how can you manage your business without, I'd go, you'd hear me, and then I'm just like, when it comes to my own personal thing. So yeah.
That's sometimes the way, though. The very people that, especially in the professional, the very people that spout all this, behind the scenes, they haven't really got it together. But thanks for sharing that. A couple of things that you said that I think were quite interesting. The imagery of wealth. I like that. The imagery of wealth, and that it's endemic in our group, in our culture. The looking good looking wealthy as opposed to actually being wealthy. So this is something I often share, is that we in our community we tend to lay emphasis on the things that don't really matter. The kind of car you drive, whether you're wearing designer wear, lace material. I mean, I say this in my seminars. Lace is not an appreciable asset, so I don't know why you're spending so much money on it. You know, that kind of thing. But I mean, when I think about COVID really showed us up. It really did. It showed us for who we are as a people, because there are many people that we thought, because, you know, we see them driving the latest car, we go to their house, we see the 100-inch screen TV, we thought they were doing well financially, and sadly they might have passed away, and even to bury them, I'm not even talking about for the family to eat thereafter, but even to bury them, we had to go GoFundMe. So it's always a mystery to me how you can live that way. So don't go for the image, guys. Actually do what needs to be done to really be wealthy, to create wealth and build it. Debbie, do you have a money story?
Oh, absolutely. I think we all do. You know, my knowledge of, well, if I look back just in terms of where I'm coming from, I would say I was from a poor family, so we didn't necessarily have everything we needed, and it was quite difficult to get by. I was brought up by a single mum here in the UK, supported by her family, and it was very difficult to do certain things. My mum was quite entrepreneurial. She did have a job before she had us, and when she gave birth to all three of us, she stopped working, you know, just to look after us and everything else. And so I don't know what life was like when she was working. I know, you know, prior to her being single, I understand that they had a great life and money wasn't a problem, but I wasn't aware of that until later on in life. I was just exposed to not having any money. It was very difficult to get anything. We had to share everything. But my mom had an entrepreneurial spirit. So, you know, she was a tailor, so she'd make clothes for people. She would travel to buy things to come and sell. She was very entrepreneurial, but I think the business acumen wasn't there. And so she was cheated quite a lot in terms of, you know, people just getting things from her, not paying, and she found it difficult to try and being a woman of the cloth, as they say, or as a woman of faith, she found it very difficult to, you know, chase the people and get her money, and that just drove us more into poverty. And so what that meant was that we wore hand-me-down clothes, we ate when they brought us food, when other people brought us food, you know. So it was that really impacted my mindset as a young person growing up, just in terms of money. But I think for me, there were two things. One thing was I vowed that I would never live life like my mother did, because I just didn't want that kind of a lifestyle, even though the money mindset did hold me back, because that's what I was used to. And so whenever I got any money, I would hoard it, because simply I need to save it, because I don't want to be like my mother. But the good thing about it is she had this business, she had this entrepreneurial spirit, and I believe I've taken that. I've since learned that my father's quite entrepreneurial as well, but I'm quite entrepreneurial. I've started many businesses. My first degree was business, so that has kind of helped me. And so in the process of time, and it does take a lot of time just to work on yourself and work on your mindset, and obviously being a life coach, learning personal development and growth, all of those things really challenge your mindset and who you are and where you were and why you're there, and, you know, how can I change the way I think, and actually being aware of yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses. Why do you behave in the way you behave? Why do you hold those belief systems and values? And where has it brought you from? Where are you now? Where is it taking you? You know, and I was privileged to be at an event, a conference on the weekend, and I remember it was a network marketing event, and I remember the guys who organized it came in, and I said to my friend, "Oh my God," I said, "Look at the money dripping." They were just walking in, you know. But I was like, my goodness. So you could just, I mean, we talked about the image of wealth, but you could see that these people clearly had an amount of wealth, as it were. And, you know, I mean, I've learned since, you know, it's really about the people you surround yourself with, your mindset in terms of, you know, what you think about money. You want to be rich, hang out with rich people. You want to have more money, hang out with people who have it. You know, you're not going to learn a lot about money from a poor person, you know, and that's really that's really where my mindset is now, just in terms of the way I've grown up, and even the way I'm bringing up my children. You know, so some of those maxims that you get, money doesn't grow on tree, you can't have that, this, that, and the other, save for a rainy day, and all of those kind of things, they were said with good intent. But then the question is, why were they said, and how is that helping you, and how is it moving you forward, and how is it helping you to get towards where you need to get to financially? So it's been a struggle for me personally, just in terms of my background and where I've come from financially. But I'm grateful for where I am today, that my mindset is being renewed on a daily basis, and I'm able to move away from that and not let that impact me.
Oh, great. Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. I think our journey, not just with money, but by way of personal development, of which, of course, money is a huge part, it takes a while, like you said, to work on yourself. It takes a while. First of all, it takes a while for you to even realize that work needs to be done, and then to figure out exactly what needs to be done, and then to actually go do it. So, ladies, can I actually say, and I mean this in all honesty, well done. I mean, the journey doesn't sound like it's been easy, but you're here, you're showing up, you're fighting, you're giving life all you've got. Well done. You have my utmost respect. Okay, so let's get down to some other stuff. What problems have you encountered in the marketplace being a woman? I want to address this to Debbie first of all, because we were having a brief conversation about this yesterday. And then being a black woman in the corporate space, and how have you overcome them?
Absolutely. So I started out, I mean, I've been I'm working in the commercial field, and I've been doing this job for probably over 20 years now. And I remember when I started out, I was headhunted into an organization which was a consulting firm, and I was just so grateful to be there. I thought I was there by chance, and I just said, if they come back to me 6 months later and said, Debs, we didn't want you, we got the wrong person, I would have happily said, I completely understand, I know I'm not the one for you, simply because of, again, it's a mindset thing, in terms of I don't deserve to be here, I just applied by chance, and hey, I'm here, you made a mistake, and I'm happy to say fine. Yeah, so it's that imposter syndrome, isn't it? And so what that meant was, after working a couple of years in a job that I liked, and I'd been headhunted into this company, I had the mindset that I should just be happy. The fact that they would even think to give me this job in this place and pay me what they were paying me, which now is not really much, I should be happy. I shouldn't strive for anything more. I'm doing, at least I'm at a level where I'm able to keep a job. My mum didn't have this kind of opportunity, and perhaps even at that role, maybe I was earning more than my mother was earning. I had 2 young children at the time. So for me, it was, Debs, you need to be happy. Just be thankful every day. Thank God. Don't strive for anything higher. Don't go for, that was simply, where I started. And obviously with time, things happen, you start to question yourself, you start to go along the journey. And I'm talking, this is probably about 2003, 2005, thereabouts. And when I look back now, and this is really what prompted the conversation that I had with you yesterday, was when I look back now and I see myself in a senior leadership position. I'm now in boardrooms, having meetings, and doing a lot of the things that I'm doing today. I started to question myself and think it didn't need to take me nearly 20 years to get to where I am today. But there are many reasons why it has taken me that long. And in as much as, I remember I went to law school and we talked about positive discrimination and all of those great things they talked about then. And in as much as the company and people around you can do whatever it is to give you a leg up and help you up the corporate ladder, the question is, and the question I started to ask myself was, what did I do to myself? How have I helped myself to get to where I was at that point in time? And when I look back, I saw a young lady who had a lot of fear, imposter syndrome, self-doubt, no confidence. A lot of things were fighting against me. And a lot of times I didn't fight back. And so when we go back to, the money mindset we spoke about earlier, and just in terms of my background, so I'm first generation. I was born and raised here in the UK, but I was brought up by a proper African Nigerian woman, and I took on a lot of her values and her cultures and her way of thinking, and also being a person of faith. They tell you that the love of money is the root of all evil, so you should be you should be satisfied with what you have, so I just wanted to be that. But now that I am where I am, I realized that I probably could have gotten where I am today sooner. Maybe not necessarily in the same firm, but if I had taken responsibility and been a bit more intentional about my goals and where I'm going to and the reasons why and who I may set free along the way, then perhaps I would have been there. And so, as I was saying, to you the other day, is that now not necessarily am I one of the things I'm thinking about, my focus is really just understanding and speaking to Black women, particularly, simply because that's who I am. And, in terms of why do we wait for so long? What are the things that are holding us back in terms of going up the corporate ladder? When I think about, when I was growing up, here in the UK, and I do think my culture, my background plays a part. I wasn't necessarily top of my class, but then I didn't have the best education. My mum wasn't able to send me to private school. We didn't really have many books in my house. When I got home, I had to cook and fend for my brothers and sisters because my mum was sewing all night long. And so all of those things would have impacted my education and then impacted my results. And so when I came out of school, GCSEs, I had a couple of Bs, but mainly I didn't have any As. I had lots of Cs and, maybe 1 or 2 Ds. I should be content. I should be happy with that. And even going through my degree, I funded myself through a degree because I really believe that there is more to this. If it was down to my mother, I probably would have stopped there, but pushing myself and trying to get, so going through school and going through university, getting 2 degrees and then landing a job where I did, I should be happy. But that's not the right way to think, and I was very mediocre in my thinking. I was very I've said just satisfied. And so I started to think that how can I challenge that mindset in the young people who are coming after me? Because yes, this is 2023, but some of the things that plagued me back in 2003 continues to plague the young black ladies who are trying to get up the corporate ladder. And many of them are staying, and I've spoken to many young ladies who are happy where they are because they are where they are. And you know what? I'm doing better than my mom. I'm doing better than my sister. I'm just happy to be. When you can see the potential within them, you can see that they can get more. And so I'll just share a story. There was a young lady who I was speaking to. I always ask people when I see them, what are you doing? How are you winning? Whether it's in the corporate space or in business. And she told me that story about a job that she was in, and she'd been working there for the last 5 years, and she was doing exceptionally well. And they acknowledged the fact that she was doing well, but they never promoted her. They never gave her a pay rise or any of those things. And then a job opportunity came her way, and she applied for it, and she got the job. And this job was paying £20,000 more than what she was earning at her current job. And so she went to her employer and she said, hey, it's been lovely working here. I see you as family. It really hurts that I have to go, but I've got something new that I want to go for. And the guy was like, really? Oh, you've been here for so long, we don't want you to go. She goes, I know, I really would love this place, but this place is offering me more money. And so the guy says to her, how much more are they offering you? And she says 20K, right? And the guy says, oh, 20K. Oh, that's nothing. I'll give you 20K. I said, so what did you do? He said, she took it. I said, you didn't. She said, I did. I was like, no, you don't do that, because essentially, to me, what that says is that you are worth 20K, maybe even more than what you're earning sooner than when you brought it up. And so if you didn't bring it up, if you didn't get the opportunity somewhere else, he would not have offered you that 20K. So it goes to show just in terms of how we value ourselves and the worth we see in ourselves. And she was happy to just sign up. And I said, I do a lot of commercial contract negotiations. I'm a negotiation queen. So I was like, you should have told him no, 30, 35, maybe 40, you're worth more. And it happens a lot just in terms of with women, just in terms of where we are. A man, and it's just in terms of speaking to people, is more likely to go and ask for what they believe they deserve, even if they don't have the skills. But as a woman, especially a young black woman, where we have that what they call double jeopardy, just being a woman is hard enough, and then being a black woman and as a minority here in the UK is even harder. And so she went for it, and that just goes to show, even when I look back at young Debs 20 years ago, and I would have, 20K, that's a lot more than I'd expect, so give me 2K, I'm happy, so that just goes to show. And that's really, it's something I'm passionate about. It's something I've been speaking to a lot of ladies about and just researching, just in terms of, because it's one thing to excel in business, but it's not everybody's cut out for business. Some people, are happy in the workplace, and maybe they have other streams of income. And so if you do want to stay in the workplace, then what are you doing to climb up the career ladder, as it will? Just make yourself a bit more valuable, a bit more worth. Let people see what you are worth and what you can give back to the organization.
Wow, loads there, loads. Now, Yemi, I'm going to let you rip in a minute, because I know you're jumping at the bit. This is your area, this is your daily bread. But I just want to talk about a couple of things that Debbie said. One of them is, I obviously, as some of you know, my background is employment law, so I work a lot with HR directors and stuff. And one of the things that I say to people on this show is that don't think because you're sitting at a table with a group of other people who have the same job description and the same person spec as you, that you're all on the same salary. You're not. A lot of them are. Some of the difference in salary is unbelievable, but you don't know, one, until you start asking questions, or until you start, showing up in the workplace and letting them know that you are worth whatever the top earner on that table is earning. You have to do that. Well, one of the things that I find that we do, and I think we shoot ourselves in the foot by this, for whatever reason we do it, is we, just like you said, we tend to, okay, I just want to come to work, I don't want no stress, I'm going to just enough for them not to fire me, and that's it. I don't want to get involved in office politics. Listen, wherever there are 2 or 3 people, it's not only the Holy Ghost that is there, politics is there. So you have to get used to that. You have to get used to that. Another thing I say to especially black people, and this goes for both men and women, is that most decisions regarding your promotion, your salary and things like that are not made in front of the promotion board. They're made down the pub. So this is another thing we do. We exempt ourselves from the whole social side of the workplace. And again, we do ourselves a disservice when we do that. And then you hear all kinds of things, oh, but they drink, I don't like drinking. You don't have to drink. You don't have to drink what they're drinking. Order a Coke. If that's what you want to do, order a Coke. But a lot of these things is about visibility. It's about presence. If you are not hanging around when their hair is, they've let their hair down and things like that, during those times, they build up trust. This person is one of us. They sit with us. They talk with us. We know a little bit about them. That's where you get to talk about your family life, your thoughts and everything like that. They get to know you as a human being as opposed to Yemi the accountant. So if you absent yourself from all those kind of things, and whenever you're asked to do anything, you do the barest minimum, then why would they promote you? Why would they promote you? So I think we really have to show up a bit more. I was at a networking group last week, and there was a lady in the banking industry who was saying, she was sharing the struggles that she'd had in the banking industry in climbing up the career ladder. And she said what she decided to do in the end was create like a talk shop, because she discovered when she got into senior management, she started talking to her colleagues that genuinely some of them had no idea what we were struggling with. Yes, there'll be racism. Yes, there'll be unconscious bias. But she said genuinely she met people who had no understanding of some of the things that we talk about and complain about in the workplace, that they because they don't experience it, they just didn't get it. They didn't get it. So she created a talk shop whereby people who were aggrieved could just come and share their story, not in a you've done this to me, you've done that to me kind of way, but this is what life is like for me as a black woman in this establishment. And she said it was such an eye-opener for a lot of them at senior management. Because sometimes we assume that it's just racism. And yes, there is a lot of that. But sometimes it is ignorance. It is ignorance sometimes. And she said they would come back to her and say, I had no idea. I had no idea. And then she was able to then affect change. She had HR directors come in and sit on the meetings and stuff like that. Thinking, huh, really? When you come for an interview, this is what you think, or this is how we interpret this, and that's not what you mean, and that kind of thing. So yeah, one of the things I have found. Sorry, Yemi, I'm going to get back to you in a minute. One of the things I have found is I've sat on like recruitment boards, and I find that black women, probably because of some of the reasons that you've spoken about, Debbie, do not know how to sell themselves. And this is not just a black woman thing; it's a black thing. Do not know how to sell themselves. Now, the average Caucasian, if his job in his last job was to move this pen from here to there, the language he would use in describing that would be unbelievable. This, I don't know how to describe it. This, whatever, writing utensil was implemented in, I was mobilizing it, and this, that, and that. The way they would describe it, and we would just say, I moved the pen from here to there, and that was it. And then you look like you were loafing in your last job. So sometimes it's even the language that we use sometimes does us a disservice. So these are the kind of things that we need to be aware of if we want to, progress up the career ladder. Right, Yemi, go for it, girl.
Well, fantastic. I mean, what you guys said is taken away out of my mouth. So I've been so passionate about this space that I've actually started to run a monthly webinar, free webinar, where I teach people the 7 hacks, I call it, in terms of accelerating your career. Because, sometimes you don't know what you know until you reflect back and go, oh, right, because like you said, yes, we do, as black women, we do face racism and sexism, but it's not everything that's around that, yeah? And what we have to remember, and it's good, is that actually when you get to start to connect with people on a human level, it starts to break those barriers down. So if you don't feel comfortable going to the pub, then find another way, find another route, right? Find another route to connect with your boss, and not just the person you report into, at least your boss's boss. And it may sound like, oh my God, it's impossible. It actually isn't, because very rarely do people actually request, right? So, if you think about some of those research shows that during the pandemic, a lot of women's pay actually, the gap widened in terms of promotion and things like that. Because obviously, whilst we love the ability to be able to work from home and drop kids off and things like that, when people were going back to the office, we weren't necessarily the first to say let's run back to the office, which is fair enough. But if you are going to go to the office at least 1 or 2 days a week, ensure that those 1 or 2 days is not when you go and sit behind the computer. That is not what you're doing. You're not going to the office to work, ladies, right? Especially black, So, the reality of it is the work that you do, you can do it at home, you can do it in the office. There's no difference in your productivity in terms of where you work. You are going to the office to make sure you're visible, to make sure you book in some 10-minute coffee chat with your boss that's not really rigid. Because I think sometimes, because of the fact that we have experienced some unpleasantness, we become quite rigid sometimes, and we always got our guard up. But actually, sometimes we need to let that guard down so that people can relate to us, right? So, obviously, if you're working from home, you can't book a 10-minute, just a random chat in somebody's diary on Zoom. It looks ridiculous. But use the opportunities when you are in the office. Use that as the opportunity to connect. Use that as the opportunity to remind them of some of the projects that you're working on. Use it as an opportunity to give them an update. So I was one of those, not that I'm big-headed. I was really good at my work. I knew my stuff inside out. And because I knew it so well and I was so good at it, I didn't feel that I had to be justified. You know how we are sometimes, we get the attitude. I knew I did, I knew I was good, right? But actually sometimes, I now reflecting, some of the people that I reported into, and even sometimes 2 levels above, felt a little bit intimidated. What I should have done is just taken them along, right? Give them updates where I am. So if they give me a project, I'm like, grab the project, ta-da, look how fantastic it is, right? Actually, what I need to do is taking the project, yes, I know what I'm doing, but actually give them regular updates. Because if you, unfortunately, lack of communication, some of the things that hold us back, because we just feel that they should know what I'm doing, but actually do they? And and that's when we build a relationship. And when I started to learn this, oh my goodness, that's when my career actually really accelerated. Little coffee time, just be given an update, even though your boss is not necessarily asking for it. So I'd really say to black people and people, and women, manage up. Yeah. Ultimately, whoever it is you're reporting into, have, as much as we would love them to wake up in the morning and think about us, go to bed thinking about us, they do not actually care that much about us as individuals. Not because they're horrible people, but because they've got enough on their own plate. So what you have to do is make your, as Debbie said, rightly said, not everybody's going to have that entrepreneur flirt, right? Or be able to set up a business and make it successful. So what you need to do is see your business as you see your work as almost a mini business. See yourself as an investment, and making sure that everybody, minimum your boss and your boss's boss, knows what you're working on, what the progress is, what stuff you've done well. And don't wait. If your organisation is one of those places that only do annual appraisal, please do not wait that year, that one time to tell them all of the things that you've been doing for 12 months. By that time, it's too late.
Yeah.
It's too late.
So true.
It's just a formal thing that they have to do for HR to tick the box. By that time, they've already decided who's getting a pay rise, who's getting a promotion, right? And that's why you have to make sure you book a one-to-one meeting in the diary of your boss and giving them an update. And not many people think that way. Not many. So when you see your boss, make them, find out from them what is actually their biggest challenges. What are their biggest, not just to take it on top of what you've got, but just understanding very few people who actually care about what their boss's challenges are, right? So it's so refreshing to have one person in your team that goes, how what's happening? How are you getting on? What are the biggest, things like that? What can I do potentially?
What can I do? Yeah.
What can I do? Considering, but also, again, one thing you have to be careful, don't just take it on, because what you don't need to do is, if you're going to take something on, you need to let go of something else. So this is when you do your informal one-to-one to say, what's actually going on? I don't know, let's say Deb is my boss, right? Deb, what's going on at the moment? I'm going to call her Deb, obviously. What's actually going on at the moment? And she goes, well, actually, these are some of the sort of strategic challenges we've got in the organisation. Is there anything that I could assist you with? And then she'd probably come up with something and say, oh, that's brilliant, because actually, there's something I'm currently working on that I think the junior can pick up. You see? So you have to sow that seed in their mind. So actually, I can free you up to help you if I can give some of my delegate. Oh my God, sorry, my client's calling me. I have to decline. Forgive me. And if I can delegate something I've got, do you know what I mean? And then do your homework. Think about somebody who else who could do with a leg up to do a project that you've already done, right? And I always say in every job, and this is where we get a bit uncomfortable, because like David said at the beginning, we'll do it. When you get that first job or that first break, you're so grateful, especially if you, oh my gosh, my first finance director job, I was just like, I thought I was made up, right? I was made up. I thought I was, I was the D's news and stuff like that. But actually, if we start to get the mentality, every single position that I get, my mission is to almost work myself to the extent out of that position. Not in a horrible way, not by not doing what I do, without doing it and thinking about the next level. Yeah. So I know we all talk about all these buzzwords now that we didn't have, we didn't have those in my time, but I now look back at those individuals that play those roles in my life. So everybody, if you really want to progress, honestly, you've got to have a mentor. Everybody knows about mentors, so they are people that are not necessarily in your organization, but they can support you. They are doing a similar role or doing a higher role in another organization where you can learn from and actually find out from the market what's going on. You must have a sponsor. The sponsor are those individuals that you're not going to be in the room when they're talking about the promotions. Those are the individuals that are going, oh my God, Bebe's fantastic. A project's coming up, they're talking on your behalf, right? And how do you get a sponsor? Ask. Ask. Look around the organisation and look at not just the level just above you, but 2 levels above. And do you know how many of them are actually looking for opportunities to give back? But they don't know, they don't want to come across as patronising. Yeah. And how wonderful it is if you send them an email and just say, look, I really admire your work, Bebe. I'm, at this level of my career, I really would appreciate if you could be my sponsor. What's the worst they can do? They can't chop your head off. They can either say no, yes, or not right now. Do you know what I mean? And that's how you get your sponsor. And then you start to feed them some of the stuff you're working on, some of the stuff you like to work on. And so when you're not in the room, that's who they're going to be talking about to say, wow, Yen is ready for that next promotion. The opportunity comes up, right? So we have to remember, we have to work smarter, not harder. So I hate this thing about having to work harder. Yeah, it's something I've always rejected from earlier in my career. I don't even know where. I believe maybe it's the Holy Ghost that gave me that. I've always thought, everywhere I went, I thought, okay, if they say something takes 10 hours to do, my first thing is to go, why? And then do the investigation and find out, actually, okay, I might actually initially take 12 hours, but that's because I'm spending extra time to see how I can reduce that whole process to 6 hours, right? So you just got to make sure you have those key people, and then obviously have a coach. It took me ages before my career because I realized the impact of a coach. It's really important to have a coach, yeah? So I would say invest the money. Instead of investing in that next lovely handbag that you want, invest in getting, honestly, use that money. Because when you say to them, when it comes to personal development, oh my God, that's too much money. And then when it comes to, do you know what I mean? When it comes to going to that next party, oh my gosh. I mean, even just to sew the dress alone, we know sometimes the prices. So take some of that money and invest the best investment. Learn some kind of delayed gratification. Invest in a coach. And again, like I said, literally, I can say it added so much to my earning, right? By actually investing in a coach to support me to go to that next level. Yeah. So I mean, there's so much. I love this space. I absolutely this is it. I get very excited because I do think, in spite of the racism, in spite of the sexism, I think there's a lot that a lot of us are not leveraging. And you'll find even within the white race, the ones that are doing exceptionally well, they don't tell you, but they've got coaches, they've got mentors, they've got sponsors. Yes, we might say it's easier for them, but we've got to do this minimum of that. And if anything, we have to be even more visible and continuously reminding people of the stuff that we're doing. And we're not just working away really hard, getting resentful. We do 10 times more than doing in the corner. Nobody notices me. But who was the last time that you went for just a coffee with somebody to talk about what you're actually working on?
Yeah, so true, so true. I mean, one of the last paid job that I had, one of the ways in which I made myself visible was actually to make myself audible. And that was because I was an employment lawyer for a high-profile trade union. And there was an unspoken but very real belief that black people on my level, of which there are only 3, got the job as tokenism. And I was determined to disabuse them of that impression, determined. So I said, okay, how am I going to do this? Because we all used to work from home. Way before working from home became sexy, we were working from home. And so I thought, well, how am I going to do this? So I think once a month we used to have a joint meeting. We used to have to go into the office, and then we had all the big wigs come along and all that kind of stuff. So I did something that every time we had such a meeting, I must say something. Either I'm going to ask a question, or I'm going to give an opinion about something someone has said, or I'm going to give a counter opinion against somebody has said, but I was definitely going to make my voice heard and let them know that I had a brain in my head, and I was not here because I was a token black. I was here because I was the best person for the job. And mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. As you know, I can talk in public, so mission accomplished. They began to, you could tell, it was almost like a switch, but you could actually feel it. It was tangible. People began to say, "Oh, okay, so she has been," that kind of thing. Just like you said, the kind of projects that began to ask me to work on. My boss, oh my God, my boss was ecstatic. He would ask me, he would say, "Baby, can you go along to this meeting for me?" And these are meetings that I would never normally have been in the room. Never, but for the fact that, you know, they'd heard me speak, they knew I could handle myself, that kind of thing. He'd say, "Okay, I don't know, go to this strategic meeting, go to that strategic meeting," and I'd go along and represent him. And my job became a lot more interesting as a result, but it was because I was intentional about it, just like you've said. So yes, we do have to do that. We do have to do that. Ladies, we're going to take a break right now, a very short break, so don't go anywhere. But I'm really, really enjoying the show, and there are lots of tips for women who might be stuck in their career. And we're going to be talking about getting stuck and how to get unstuck when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. See you in a moment. Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur, and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Star Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Get ready for this.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You are tuned into the BB Means Business Show, and today I have two very special women on my show, Yemi Jackson and Debbie Akinkunle, and they've been giving us invaluable, literally career-changing, life-changing tips as to how you can break through that glass ceiling, things that you can do. Don't just sit there in your learned helplessness. There are things that you can do to change your story in the workplace. First thing is, Debbie talked about was mindset. You've got to believe that you belong there. The reason why they hired you is because you've got something they need. So you belong there already. That should already tell you that you belong there. Then you've got some work that you need to do to show up, be visible, to do more than you're just the barest minimum in the workplace, to socialize if need be, get a mentor, get a sponsor. These are words that we don't even talk about. We often don't even talk about. Get a mentor, get a sponsor. What does it mean to get those? The ladies are on hand. Afterwards, they're going to share their details. You might need to get in touch with them so they can help you. So you don't spend 20 years in the same position on the same salary. You haven't got enough time. You got to move forward. Right, Debbie, now I know you're a Kingdom Life Coach. Kingdom, that sounds interesting. What is that?
So essentially, it's just a life coach, and my target audience is primarily Christians. So that's why it's a Kingdom Life Coach. But essentially, what it is so the Bible says, "Thy kingdom come here on earth as it is in heaven." And so it's really identifying with the kingdom culture, a kingdom mindset, and living that life here on earth. Whilst we're here. So it really means, what does it mean to live a kingdom life? What does it mean to be called kingdom cultured? And how can I influence the world around me? So it's for me, it's beyond being the Christian on a Sunday, read my Bible and pray. It's actually, how can I go out, influence and impact my world, on a daily basis.
Yeah, definitely a woman after my heart. Definitely. Now you help women in particular who have become stuck. In what kind of ways do women become stuck, and how do they get unstuck?
I think some of the things we've talked about a bit already touch on some of the ways that they get stuck in terms of our mindset and where we are and our background and things that hold us back. Sometimes it's things like self-doubt and not believing in yourself, not believing in your personal value. Perhaps you have lots of dreams, lots of things you want to get done, and here we are in 2023, and you had those dreams since 2003, and you had children. And then none of them have come to fruition. So you feel like, oh my goodness, and you just give in and you say, my child will be better than me. I'll just leave it to my children to do, or I'll leave it to the next person. Sometimes we compare ourselves with other people. and we see people who perhaps are at the same level or maybe even younger than us, and they're really doing well in life. And so we feel like, life has mistreated us, and so we're kind of stuck in that. Sometimes, and we started off talking about the money and story. A lot of people that I come across talk about their finances. I just don't have the money to do it right now. I just can't afford it right now. And so they let that hold them back. Or perhaps they say they don't have enough time. Time is always working against them. I'm just too busy doing X, Y, and Z, and I just don't have that time. And as a Kingdom Life coach, there are three things I do. Essentially, it's helping you to awaken the potential that lies dormant perhaps within you. Secondly, it's about championing growth, which is that personal development piece, growing and knowing yourself, and then going beyond, expanding yourself and beyond that, perhaps that comfort zone that you've kept yourself in. And then the third part is transforming lives. And, and that's really what I tell people when I encounter you. It's not enough for me to just share what I have with you. I am successful if I go away knowing that you have taken action that then impacts your life. And that's really what I help people to do. And so really, we touched on it earlier on, it's more about being intentional about why you're here, what you're doing, where you want to get to. I was speaking to a lady the other day, just talking about career progress, and she wants career progress. And so the question is, what does that mean to you? Does it mean more money? Does it mean you get promoted at work? Does it mean you have line management responsibilities? And she couldn't clearly articulate exactly what that meant. For her, she just knew that I wanted to move forward. But what does moving forward mean to you? And so really it's about, I think it always starts with the mindset first. And then it goes on to, just in terms of clarity, exactly what you want to get. When you know where you're going, then you can start to think about how to get there. But if you have no idea where you're going, then anywhere is fine, right? And so really, it's really about helping them to outline that. I tend to have what I call power hours, which is just simply a strategy session. And I just simply say, right, just pour out everything. What do you want to do? Even if it's something that you've wanted to do and you've just thought, I just don't have the means or the capabilities to do it. And we just talk through everything, all the dreams and the ideas. And then we may explore, what are some of the things that are holding you back and haven't caused you to move forward. And then we look for, how can we now begin to take steps to help you to move forward towards your goals? And so that's some of the things that we do just to get unstuck. Essentially, I think it's really about clarity, mindset first, then being clear about what you want to do, having a goal in place, or, having a destination, and then actually taking action. And not being dismayed by the fact that I took one step and I'm not there yet. Sometimes it's going to take a lot more steps than one, right? But it's keep on putting one foot in front of the other and believing and trusting. And I love what Yemi said there. There are three key people you need around you. And those three key people are not just in the workplace. Just in terms of a mentor, somebody who's been there already, who knows the route and can help you get there, right? You need a sponsor, somebody who will continually praise you and say, I had a sponsor at my workplace, and she's one of the reasons why I got into the boardroom. And I actually didn't go to her and ask her to be my sponsor. It's just she was close to me enough to know what I did, and I always shared what I did. She talked about sharing, praising yourself in front of her. And so when she'd go into it, she goes, well, I don't know why I'm here. Deb should be here. It was just that thing. And it's the same thing in business or whatever it is you're doing. If you have a skill, if people don't know, and I know we touched on visibility before, if people don't know what you're about, they can't sell your services, right? So it's about you letting people know, I'm here, I do this, these are my skills. Even if you're working on a project, I'm working on this project. And sometimes I find that's half the problem sometimes, is we don't want to share what we're working on. And so if you don't share what you're working on, if you don't get in the right circles, then no one's going to be able to help you. It's often said that no man is an island. We need people, we need each other to get by and to get through. So you certainly need the mentors, you need the sponsors, you need the coach. For me, when I remember, not the first coach I had, but the second coach I had really did a trick on my mind. And I got the coach because simply I wanted to be better in business. And I said, I need a business coach, right? And I went out and I got myself a business coach. And coming up to 3 months, I was not very happy because I thought, I employed this geezer, right, to help me to get better my business. But here he is telling me, read this book and read that book and reflect on this and tell me, it's like, I love reading that, but I didn't call you to read. And I remember one day I was driving and suddenly everything just clicked. All the reading and all the homework I'd done and everything, I was ready to tell this coach, I don't want you anymore. And suddenly I realized it was doing a work on me and my mindset and how I think. And so the very next meeting I had, he said, right, Debbie, I think you're ready for the business mentoring or the business coaching. And then he started to share the tips and tricks, So it's really, really important that we have the right people, speaking into our lives. We're in the right rooms. I spoke earlier on and you also spoke about being in networking. So where do we find ourselves, right? If you're in the midst of people who are exactly where you are, they're not going to take you anywhere else. You're going to remain where you are. So you need to be in the midst of people who are 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps ahead of you and learn from them. How do they get there? How can they help you? How can you help them? Just like Kemi shared earlier on. So it's not just about what I can take from you, but what can I give? Because by giving, you will also receive. So those are some of the things that I teach and I help people, to do just in terms of getting unstuck and moving forward. So I hope that helps a bit.
It does. I feel like I've just had a free session. Brilliant. I do lots of speaking as well, and I find that the hardest thing is people to take action. They're happy to come along, get the knowledge, they get really excited and everything like that, but so few take action. I actually find it quite disheartening, to be honest. But if you can, like I said the other day, I posted something on Instagram the other day that it only took one Nelson Mandela, it only took one Oprah Winfrey, only took one Muhammad Ali. So if I can get to ignite just one heart, it'll be enough. So hopefully, whenever we open our mouth or we extend our influence, we will touch that one heart, and they will be enough. That's my prayer. That's my prayer. Okay, now I'm a strong believer that success leaves clues. And over the last few years, I have been interviewing very successful people. I specifically picked millionaires, but then I've also extended that to people who are not necessarily millionaires, but they're doing well. They have a measure of influence and they're using it well. But I find that there are common characteristics, some major common characteristics amongst them all. So I'm going to see if you guys have them as well. So Yemi, talk us through a typical day. What does a typical day look like to you?
Oh my God. So a typical day for me now is very different to what it used to be. But believe it or not, I don't know whether it's the menopausal stage or whatever, but I am up now. I didn't want to even believe this thing existed, I think my friends were like, well, Yemi, you're 50 this year. I think that might be a problem. I think that might be the problem. Sorry. So I'm one of those, I'm one of those women in denial of everything, right? So on average now, actually, I'm up roughly probably about 5:30 every morning. And the first thing I do is pray. Because I've just realised actually the days when I don't, it's just such a disaster that I'm just like, I just need to find some time to really probably do more talking than I do and I've got to talk, but it's just for me to just really just pray. And then I also do listen to a prayer platform my pastor leads, and it's just so positive, and I'm just like, what is this man on? It's 71, and it just always seems to be full of fire. And that's it, and my belly's then kind of full of fire. Whilst I'm listening to the morning glow, I tend to go walking, because I find if I do, after my own prayer, if I do sit in my bed and listen, the next thing is snores. It's like, oh, amen, at the end. Amen at the end. So now I actually go walking, I'll probably step out of the house for about 6 o'clock. So from 6 to 7-ish, 7:30, I'm walking and listening and praying along. Really, and then back home from 7:30, and then my day starts from then. And if it's sometimes even before that, I'm getting emails are coming through, I'm getting calls are coming through, and my day starts. That's how my days kind of really start. I want to be more organised than I am, so I really do. I still do my things to do, but it's not like on a daily basis that I need to revisit it. I'm still trying to get into journaling. I'm struggling with that. I know a lot of people swear by this journaling, and I'm trying my best. But I think mine's probably on average weekly, and then most people do it on a daily basis. So for me, it's just really about sort of that kind of prayer, that exercise in terms of walking, and that visioning. What do I want to achieve, sort of, kind of that week, really. But at the moment, I think my daily routine is not where I want it to be. I still want to be a bit more disciplined, as I would. So I keep reminding myself that even though I'm working for myself, I need to remind myself how hard I used to work for other people, because I don't know about you guys, when it's your own business, it's still very much, when I worked for others, I worked ridiculous. I was just, I don't know, on some kind of another level, And I think maybe because you're just constantly being judged by someone else, and we have to remember all that energy to put also into our own business. So I'm nowhere near as, I would say, as effective as I used to be. So I'm still working towards that sort of real boom, 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 boom. But yeah, early start for me works. And I won't say that I'll do an early bedtime, which would be great. But at the moment, I average 6 hours sleep and just really, really focus. And from a business perspective, what works for me is I won't say it's more of a daily routine, I'll say my weekly routine. One thing I'd always target is I'm always at the minimum of a week. I'd always be reaching out to new clients, at least a minimum 5 that I'm reaching out to every week. So what most businesses tend to do, which I've been guilty of, is they wait till the pipeline dries up before they start the business, business development again. What I'm doing on a weekly basis is always reaching out to people that I'm giving them an opportunity to talk about my business to. And I think Bebe knows that I network a lot, and it's just kind of came naturally. It's not something that because when I started the business, I literally really had no network outside of sort of accounting and a few people. And over time now, everybody's just like, how come you know everybody? And I really don't know how, but I network a lot. But quite naturally, though, I'd like to be, as we all alluded to, if you're always in rooms where you're the most accomplished or the most knowledgeable, you're not going anywhere, right? So always try and balance. Yeah, you need a different room. So I'm always trying to balance where it's me giving my knowledge and sharing my knowledge, but also I'm also now finding rooms where I'm also learning from those that are ahead of me, really. So networking is absolutely, I would say 90% of my business has come from people referring me. And what's really nice, I just thank God, is now when an organisation, when 2 people that don't know each other and go, use Yemi, it's just like, I just really thank God for that company. That's really come from the network and giving to that network, because you find, it's constantly, and I am genuinely, I'm always constantly, everybody I meet, I think, how can I help them? And it always pays off. It always pays, I know that it may not necessarily pay back immediately when I've supported that individual, but guarantee whether it's 6 months' time, 12 months' time, they've referred to somebody else, who's referred to somebody else. So that's what I would say, because, give back, balance it, so I'm always trying to balance it as well. So if I don't accept more than 1 or 2 invites to different places per week now, whereas before I'd be, jumping from one place, I'd try to balance that with also investment in myself, in my business, in stuff that actually generates income. And again, on a weekly basis now, like I said, some of my disciplines are not as good as it was when I was in the corporate world, but it's what I call a term called return on time invested. So everything that I do, I'm always like, okay, you have to give back and stuff like that, but everything you do, what is the return? Not just so much on the cash invested, because we always focus on the cash you're investing in something, right? So, okay, I'm going to the conference, I paid for 50, so I expect a lot back, but actually it's also about your time, right? Because then some stuff that you're not paying to go to, but actually what have you sat down and said, what's my value and how much have I invested? So think always about what's the return on that time invested. So you're always giving and always kind of receiving, and just getting that balance so that you're at the end of the week and have you back. What have I done this week that actually brought a difference to the business, and who have I actually, who have I touched this week as well? So yeah, that's my week rather than my day.
But some really good nuggets there. You start with prayer. I find that most successful people do. It might not necessarily be prayer in the context in which we know it as Christians, but some kind of meditation, some kind of quieting their spirit, just the acknowledgement and the understanding that the tangible is influenced by the intangible. That understanding is a common one that I find with all successful people. To the concept of service, the concept of service, as John Maxwell says, if you give people what they want, they will give you what you want. So if you take whatever it is that God has given you and you serve your fellow man with it, inevitably you will get what you want. So again, just like you said, sometimes we flip that and we go after the money. I think that's a mistake. I really think that's a mistake. I think the money is a byproduct of you offering your service. It's just a byproduct. So so that's another one. I like the tip that you've just given. I'm going to discuss that with my husband. I think we might consider incorporating that, actually, was the reaching out to 5 new customers a week. I think that's a really good tip. A really good tip, and that's definitely something I'm going to go muse over and start looking how I can incorporate that. That's a really good tip. Okay, we're going to have to finish this in a minute. So you got 30 seconds, Debbie. What do you do to relax?
Read.
You read.
I do read. I do go for walks as well.
Tissues. You read.
Say that again. I missed what you said.
I said you're a goody two shoes. You read. I was expecting you to say something really out there.
No, I read. I go for a
She knows her
walk.
pastor's watching. Go on, sorry.
I do. I mean, I do watch TV a little bit, but not much. I'm not really a TV person. I do go out with the family as well, so going out with the family is nice. But I'm a quiet person. I'm a reserved person, so I do love just taking time out by myself, maybe going to a spa or something like that. But nothing. I don't go skydiving, for example. So yeah.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to round it up here. I want to just thank my guests, Yemi and Debbie. Thank you so much. The tips that you've given are invaluable. Where can we find you? Real quick, Yemi, where can we find you online?
Oh my gosh. LinkedIn's my best handle. All the other social media, I'm not that on there. So LinkedIn, Yemi Jackson. I'm the only Yemi Jackson on LinkedIn. And then drop me a message. And I'd love to engage with you guys and support you.
Okay, Debbie?
I'm a social media girl, so you find me on Instagram. It's probably my number one place. It's just my name, Debbie Akinkunle. But you'll also find Debbie Akinkunle on Facebook. You probably find me on Twitter somewhere. I don't use that much, but I think Instagram and Facebook. And then I have a website as well. So yeah, just search my name and you'll find me.
Okay, you've got some kind of program coming up, some 12-step program coming up?
Yeah, so I do a 12-week success. It's called the 12-week success T challenge. T being, so T is for time, E is for energy, and A is for attention, because they're the three things you need to be productive in life. And I believe in having a start and an end date. People get tired when they don't know when they're starting something, when they're finishing it. So it's a 12-week program just to help you be successful with some of the things that you're working on, whether that's a project or a course or whatever it is you're working on. And it's my coaching program that I do. And so we have that starting up in April. So if anybody's interested, whether just to find out a bit more or even join, please get in touch with me and we can talk a bit more about it.
Okay. Well, we wish you every success with that. Ladies, thank you so much for taking time out of your very, very busy schedules. I know how hard you guys work, so thank you for being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. I'll be here again this time next week with another set of very successful women. So glad to see that there are more and more of them in our community. And so go ahead, have a great week. Make some money, and I'll be here this time next week to serve you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having us.
Hi everyone, it's your girl Bebe Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, Bebe Means Business.